In preparation for the EOC, we're going to be focusing on explanatory writing this week. Last week we talked about narrative writing, and next week we're talking about argumentative. This is the second type of on-demand essay we're focusing on. By the end of this video, you should know what explanatory writing is, you should understand the elements of an explanatory essay, and you should also be able to apply this information to an upcoming on-demand writing assignment you'll be doing later this week. So what is explanatory writing anyways? Explanatory writing is a mode that requires students to investigate an idea. You're going to have to make a choice and prove that choice to be true for the readers. This is different than argumentative writing because you're not having to acknowledge the opposing argument and refute it. Throughout this presentation, you'll also be hearing me use the terms expository and informative or informational. Those are all synonyms that mean the same thing, to explain things to your reader. So here are a few examples of an explanatory prompt. Feel free to pause now and read through them. I'm going to be focusing on the first prompt. So some people believe that a hero is someone who risks his or her life for others, while others believe that a hero is anyone who has struggled and overcame great obstacles. Think of someone who you believe to be a hero. This could be someone you know or have heard about. Compose a piece of writing to identify this person and explain why you think this person is a hero. The first thing I want you to do when you get a prompt is I want you to deconstruct that. So figure out who are you, who is your audience, what format are you writing in, and what is your topic. This is a form of pre-writing called raft or rafting the prompt. So who are you? You're always going to be, for the most part, the prompts that I've seen recently anyways, you're going to be a high school student, and your audience is going to be your teacher. The prompts that I've been reading for the EOC say, as a student, write an explanatory essay for your teacher. Don't bank on that just in case they throw us a curveball. Format's going to be explanatory or narrative or argumentative, and the topic here is, for example, that prompt about who is your hero and what makes them heroic. So the first thing that you're going to do is write your introductory paragraph. Every good intro starts with a hook. This is an informal essay, so in the past you've been told to ignore or to not do rhetorical questions because of the choice of you. That rule doesn't apply to this prompt, so you can use a rhetorical question, but make sure that you aren't too cliche or general, like, who is your hero? Or what is your definition of being heroic? Keep in mind about how many students are going to pull that generic question out. You could use an analogy. You could use staccato, so that would be brave, period, intelligent, period, selfless, period. That would be an example of staccato. An anecdote is a short personal story. A fact or statistic, that might be harder with on-demand because you won't be able to look those up. Same with a famous quote. So that's the way you would start your intro paragraph. You're going to follow that up with transitioning from that hook into the background of your essay. So if I am going to write about my dad being my hero, then I'm going to have to talk about, from a young age, he exhibited this kind of quality and that kind of quality, and those sort of things I could include to narrow down to my thesis. Then in my thesis statement, that's where I'm going to come out and say, and my father is my hero because of this, this, and this. With your thesis, I'm not promoting a three-pronged thesis statement. I've been telling you to work towards getting away from those for junior year. For this essay, if you want to play it safe and make sure you have sound organization, you can do that three-pronged thesis. Just make sure you word it in a more sophisticated way, not a choppy way like, my dad is my hero because he is brave, he is intelligent, and he is hardworking. That sounds kind of elementary and choppy. So it's okay to have that three-prong if you do it in a more sophisticated way. From there, you're going to make sure you have body paragraphs. You need to have 2 to 3 body paragraphs in your essay, and those can be structured ACECE, just like we've been doing our body paragraphs or our constructed responses. The only difference is that the A is going to be a topic sentence, so it's not directly asking or answering a question. Instead, it is supporting that thesis statement. So one reason I consider my father my hero is because he is very selfless, then my whole paragraph is going to be about him being selfless. You're going to cite 2 concrete examples in there. When we're writing about a book, those are quotes, but if we're just writing this informal on-demand essay, that cited evidence, I can come up with 2 different times where my dad has proven to be selfless, and that would be me citing examples. And then the bulk of your constructed response or your body paragraph is going to be your explanations. That's multiple sentences explaining how that example proves that my dad is that trait, for example. After body paragraphs, you're going to move on to your conclusion. Restate your thesis statement, but do so in other words. You might switch the order of your thesis, so you start with the last part first, or you can also get out of the thesaurus and think of other words that could work that mean the same thing. Also, provide a 1-sentence summary for each body paragraph. This is you convincing, like, hey, my thesis statement, that's what I'm arguing. Here are my main points. This is why what I'm saying is true. And then end with food for thought. Why is this topic important? Why should the reader care? A few other reminders is just that focus on your word choice. Keep in mind that just because you are being informative or explaining something in your writing doesn't mean you have to be boring and dry. You can have voice and personality. You can spice it up with the sophisticated word choice, the interesting, fresh language. You can even use figurative language in this kind of a writing. You just need to make sure you're informing readers and backing up that thesis statement. Another thing that is huge on the scoring guide that the EOC released is the use of transitions within paragraphs and also between paragraphs. So you might say, in addition to my dad's selflessness, he's also my hero because he is brave. And then that whole paragraph will be about him being brave. Within that paragraph, I might say, furthermore, or another instance of his bravery is when. Those sort of things can be used within to transition. So make sure you have good, fresh, interesting word choice and that you're transitioning between your ideas. Also, a bulk of your scoring guide is focused on conventions. Make sure you're having complete sentences, no run-ons, no fragments. Use your punctuation correctly. Capitalization, grammar, and spelling are all things that the EOC will be looking at. You don't want your errors to distract from your message. So at this point, you should know what explanatory writing is. You should understand the elements of an explanatory essay. It's all about that organization. I have a strong intro, I have 3 body paragraphs that support my thesis, and then I have a conclusion. Now that you have the basic general organization of what an explanatory essay is about, you should be prepared to pre-write and create your own explanatory essay this week. So your task is to demonstrate that you understand the characteristics of narrative writing, or should be explanatory writing, and add a comment to this video on Schoology. So your comment needs to be an analogy. So just like with the narrative essay, it said a narrative essay is like blank because, you're going to be doing the same thing for explanatory writing. So an explanatory essay is like blank because. So thank you for tuning in. These notes will be beneficial when you do your pre-writing on Wednesday. Please make sure you add your analogy to Schoology. Thank you.